ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ध्यानश्लोका। शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं शुभाङ्गं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिहृद्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णुं भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथम्। Verse 23, Sri Vishnu Sahasranama. Gurur Gurutamo Dhamaha Satyaka Satyaparakramaha Nimisho Nimishasragvi Vachaspati Rudharadhihi. Guru Gurutamaha Dhamaha Satyaka Satyaparakramaha Nimishaha Animishaha Sragvi Vachaspati Rudharadhihi. Om Gurave Namaha. Om Gurutamaya Namaha. Om Dhamne Namaha. Om Satyaya Namaha. Om Satyaparakramaaya Namaha. Om Nimishaya Namaha. Om Animishaya Namaha. Om Sragvine Namaha. Om Vachaspataye Udaradhiye Namaha. The first name in this verse is Guru. Guruhu. Gu means darkness. Ru means dispeller. That is, a teacher is one who dispels the darkness in our minds. The darkness represents ignorance. With the light of knowledge, Guru is able to remove the darkness, ignorance from our mind. When we talk of Guru, we immediately think of the authors and knowers of the Vedas. The infinite alone, the Lord Supreme, He is the very author, He is the knower of Vedas, and He is the teacher in all spiritual study. Atman, being the light of knowledge, it illumines the knowledge in the teacher. It is the very same light which gives him the capacity to speak, and more importantly, it gives us the ability to us as students to hear, to understand, to comprehend what this great truth which the Guru is giving to us. Thus, we can see the Atman alone is the real teacher. It is the Adi Guru. Wherever there is any transfer of knowledge, we can always perceive the Supreme as the Adi Guru, the Jagat Guru. Bhagavad Gita says, Tvamasya Pujyascha Gurur Gariyan. You are to be worshipped. You are greater than the greatest. This is what Arjuna tells Lord Krishna on seeing the Vishwarupa. 43, chapter 11, Vishwarupa Sandarshana Yoga. The next verse makes it clear. Lord is not just alone, Guru alone, but He is the Supreme Master, Guru Tamaha. Guru Tamaha is the Supreme Teacher, the greatest teacher, one who initiated even the Creator Brahma into the knowledge of the four Vedas. Not only that, when the Vedas were stolen from Lord Brahma, Mahavishnu took the incarnation of Matsya, fished out the Vedas, and restored it to Lord Brahma. The creative mind of the first spiritual master, it must have perceived this experience of the transcendental from the Supreme Self itself. Later, this spiritual master must have helped the other seeker. Thus, one guru passes on to his shishya. That shishya in turn becomes a guru. He passes on to his students. This is what we call Guru Shishya Parampara, Adi Guru. We can call it Brahman, Mahavishnu, or Dakshinamurti, Lord Shiva. Whatever name you may choose to give, the Supreme is the Supreme Teacher, Guru Tamaha. The succeeding generations of disciples can no doubt believe that it is the immediate teacher who guided them. But in fact, for all times to come, right from the time immemorial, the real Guru is the Supreme. The Guru and the scripture, devotion to God, meditation, moral conduct, religious discipline are all these are necessary as they together prepare the seeker for the dawn of knowledge. But the final unveiling, removal of the Maya is done by the infinite alone. Hence, the Brahman, the Supreme Self, is considered to be the best among the gurus. Incidentally, Guru actually means one more meaning is heavy. Gurutvam is heaviness. Heaviness means heaviness in the sense of supreme knowledge. In this sense also, the Lord is indicated as one who is heavier than the heaviest. Now, naturally, a guru who leads us to this, he leads us to his own supreme abode. We call it Dhamaha, Parandhamaha. The goal, the sacred destination of pilgrimage of life is called Parandhama, the supreme destination, a destination having reached which there is nothing to return. There is no returning back. Yad gatva na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Lord Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita. The absolute state of perfection is called the peak, Dhamma. Dhamma also means effulgence, tejas, the glow of knowledge, pure consciousness as the illuminator of all experiences is considered and glorified as the light of all lights. Jyotisham api tadjyotihi, paranjyotihi. परं ब्रह्म परं धाम पवित्रं परमं भवान् पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवम् अजं विभुम्. Arjuna says in verse 12 of chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he says, You are the supreme Brahman, the supreme abode, the supreme purifier, the eternal, the divine being, the primeval Lord, the unborn, the omnipresent. Arjuna is never satisfied in praising the Lord in all superlatives because that supreme abode is the eternal truth. Satyaha. Satyaha. Satya. Satya means truth. And there is a very clear definition of truth. What is true? The one which remains unchanged in the past, in the present, and the future. The one which existed in the past, even before the concept of time came, the one which continue to exist now, the one which will continue to exist in future indefinitely, eternally, even after the so-called pralaya. Only that is called Satyam, Sat. Everything else is Asat, Maya. The pranas are the truth, and he is the truth of them. Sri Narayana Upanishad says, Tasmat Satyam Paramam Vadanti. The truth mentioned here is the inevitable truth. inevitable truth, we can use the word Satya Parakramaha, which is the next name of Sri Vishnu Sahasranama. Satya Parakrama also means real valor, the dynamic truth. As contrasted to this, passive truthfulness is the resort of cowards, although it is any day better than truth and dishonesty. Now we are seeing three terms: passive truth and dynamic truth. Lord, the infinite, is not only himself the truth, but is dynamic, insisting that truth shall prevail, not untruth. Satyameva jayate, na anrutam. For example, the law of gravity is there. Gravity is the law of nature. It is ever truthful. It is not only truthful, but insists that none shall escape its influence. None can dare to disobey. Whatever object is there in the universe, it is subject to law of gravity, including the huge planets, distant stars, anything else, everything is law of gravity. So this is one example of truth which is eternal, truth which is of real valor. So the Lord is therefore indicated by this term Parakramaha. So Supreme Being who denotes Satya Parakramaha, who denotes truth, is depicted with eyes closed. We use the word Nimishaha. Actually, Lord is not sleeping. It is called Yoga Nidra. Nimishaha, with eyes closed. The condition of the eyelids closed is called Nimisha. The unwinking opposite of that, eyes wide open, is called Animisha. When the eyes are open, the mind is extrovert. When the eyes are closed, it's mental introvertness. Introvert in a mental sense. It is expressed as an unconscious closing of the eyes. Actually, we know, we can see whenever a person is deeply thinking, remembering, contemplating, instinctively the person's eyes are closed. Why it happens? Because once we shut our eyes to external environment and external disturbances, then the mind is able to concentrate. An introvert like Paramatma is shown as a nimisha, depicted as nimisha. It is a state of intense contemplation. When the intellect is turned away from worldly objects, the heart expresses experiences that one divine subject, both within and without. So the description of the Lord with eyes closed indicates that he is ever rooted in himself because there is nothing which is existing other than himself. Now, the opposite of that, the contrast of that, highlight and to emphasize that God is ever wakeful, is shown with unwinking eyes. Animishaha. Animishaha is one with unwinking eyes. So whenever we wink with both the eyelids close together, and what we are seeing is, at least technically, veil from the seer in the eye. When we close our eyes, technically, we are saying technically, apparently, the seer who is inside us is not see. Of course, it's only apparent because the Supreme Being, he does not see through these physical eyes. The Supreme God is described as unwinking. When Supreme is described as unwinking, it means it indicates that the consciousness is fully awake, ever knowing. Because as Adi Shankaracharya says, there is no there is no cessation of knowing in the knower. The best example of a deity with eyes wide open is Swami Jagannath of Puri. Jagannath, Balabhadra, and Subhadra, these three deities are shown with eyes wide open, unblinking eyes. It is like a fish. A fish does not have eyelids, so it doesn't close. The Lord is not like that. Lord may be having the eyelids, but wide open. Symbolically, it shows he is fully aware, always fully conscious, ever awake. Next name is Sragvi. Sragvi means garlanded. Mahavishnu is shown with the great Vaijayanti Mala. Vaijayanti Mala is a garland of undecaying flowers. Srak. A garland is called Srak, and therefore the term means one who is wearing a garland, constantly wearing a garland, the two of undecaying flowers. Now these flowers represents the five great elements, the tan matras, from which the Panchabhutas have evolved, and Panchabhutas, entire Srushti, entire beings have evolved. The source of everything is the Paramatma, that is the Srak, garlanded, Sragvi. So Mahavishnu, who is the controller of the great elements and the Panchabhutas, and all the beings and things constituted of these five elements only, is the supreme source, supreme father for everybody. Now, to be the substratum of the universe, the divine has to be the master of all Vidyas, all knowledge, all Vedas, all Vedangas. He must be the one with the greatest intellect. So, this word is a combination of two words. This particular name, combined two words, Vataspatihi Udaradhihi. Vataspati Udaradhihi is the next name. It means master of the Vidyas and one who is having great knowledge. Udaradihi Vachaspati, one who is eloquent in championing the supreme law of life. Dhi means power of knowledge, power of intelligence. Udaradihi means one having large hearted intelligence. Now, this is a contrast. One who is not supreme is one who is not narrow minded or orthodox in any point of view. God is not only declare of the law, but he is also has a very, very benevolent heart, large hearted individual, and his large hearted tolerance helps him to appreciate the weakness of the devotee's heart. He knows we mortal beings are very, very finite, limited in our knowledge and intelligence and grasping power, and even the capacity to follow the law laid down by him. So any such bona fide failures, any such shortcomings, he is a person who liberally ignore it. He will condone it. He has that broad-mindedness. So he is called Udara Dhihi. He has infinite kindness. Now, the laws of spiritual living, even if we don't understand that law of spiritual living, even if disobeyed for a long time, there may be of no immediate consequences, not like physical laws of nature. Physical laws of nature are strict and uncompromising. For instance, fire. Fire knows no mercy. A person touches fire, will get burned. Whether the person touches knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or foolishly, whatever he may happens, fire, nature of fire is to burn. It burns. It causes injury. But the spiritual law, the law laid down by the Supreme Being, is not like this. It may have no direct, immediate consequences. The effect is toned down by the Mahavishnu. He is kind and considerate. He is large hearted. He has enough paternal kindness to overlook our shortcomings, our limitations. Called Vachaspatihi Udara Dhihi. Now we have come to the conclusion of verse 23. Let us conclude with Shanti Mantra. Om Sarvesham Swastirbhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Actually, this is not religious. It is a very simple expression of feelings for good and prosperity of everybody. It literally means, may prosperity prevail upon all, may peace prevail upon all, may contentment prevail upon all, may auspiciousness prevail. Every Shanti mantra concludes with Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Let peace prevail upon the entire universe. Let all the beings be peaceful and happy and prosperous. Thank you.